Hi guys and welcome to Crazy Pepper Revenge. This channel is all about crazy true stories, stuff that happens in real life when things get a little bit messy, people dealing with drama, cheating, lies, breakups, and even revenge. Some stories are wild, some are emotional, but all of them will keep you watching. If you like real talk and real situations, you're in the right place. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and stick around. This is Crazy Pepper Revenge, where the stories get spicy.
She lost not a husband, she lost a man who loved her. Dumb witch.
I'm standing in the conference room watching Jennifer, my wife of 12 years, tell me I'm terminated. Not just fired, eliminated. Your services are no longer required, she announces coldly. Clear your desk by tomorrow and move out tonight. I just nodded and smiled. The next day was going to be interesting. Let me back up. I met Jennifer Morrison 13 years ago at a charity event in Seattle. I was 24, working for a tiny consulting firm, helping coordinate the event logistics. She was 26, fresh from her MBA, daughter of Richard Morrison, who owned Morrison Tech Industries. She was stunning, but more than that, she was sharp. She listened like you were the only person in the room. She found me frantically fixing a broken microphone. Need help? She asked. I didn't even look up. Unless you have a degree in audio engineering, probably not. She laughed. I have a business degree, but I did 3 summers as a theater tech in high school. She fixed it in 30 seconds. We talked until 2 in the morning. She told me about growing up in Seattle's old money world, about the pressure, about how her dad was grooming her brother Brandon for the business, even though Brandon just wanted to be a photographer. I told her about growing up in Tacoma, my dad leaving when I was 8, my mom working 3 jobs to keep us afloat. You're not impressed by the money, she observed. Should I be? I asked. That was the moment she decided I was different, worth keeping. We dated 8 months before meeting her father. Richard Morrison was intimidating. 6'3", silver hair, voice like thunder. He'd built his grandfather's mid-sized tech company into a regional powerhouse with contracts from every major player in the Pacific Northwest. He didn't believe in me at all. A consultant, he said at our first dinner. What does that mean exactly? I explained I help businesses optimize operations, identify inefficiencies, implement solutions. Sounds like common sense, he replied dismissively. But Jennifer took my hand right there at the table. Dad, I love him. We married 6 months later. People think money solves problems. It doesn't. It just changes them. The first year we lived in a condo her father bought us. I kept consulting while Jennifer worked her way up at Morrison Tech, determined to prove herself despite her last name. We were happy. We'd stay up late discussing business strategy, her absorbing my consulting insights. You should come work for us, she said one night. Your father wouldn't appreciate that. She insisted he respected results. She was sort of right. 2 years later, Richard offered me a position. Not in operations where I'd be useful, but in business development, sales. I was terrible at it initially. You're too honest, her Uncle Mark told me after I lost a major contract. You need to oversell. I learned, though, you learn or you drown. Meanwhile, Jennifer rose fast. Analyst to manager to director to VP. She was brilliant. Her father's strategic mind with her mother's emotional intelligence. When her mother Grace died from cancer, 5 years into our marriage, Jennifer channeled her grief into work. She launched a sustainable tech division, secured huge contracts, became indispensable. Richard had a stroke on March 3rd. He lived 4 months in a hospital bed, his mind sharp but body failing. Jennifer visited daily. So did I. He died July 14th. At the will reading 3 days later, Jennifer inherited controlling interest in the CEO position. Brandon got 20% and the means to pursue photography. Jennifer was now in charge of everything, and that night she opened expensive wine. To Dad, she said. I told her she'd be amazing. She looked at me with something cold in her eyes. We'll see. It started small. Jennifer working later, coming home at 9, 10, 11, weekend calls, business trips stretching longer. I'm establishing authority, she explained. I understood taking over after your father dies requires sacrifice. What I didn't understand was why I was part of that sacrifice. Dinners stopped, bedroom time disappeared, conversations dried up. We became roommates, then strangers, then enemies, though only one of us knew it yet. I tried planning date nights. I have board meetings to prep for. Catherine, please, I'm under pressure. Give me space. Space. How much space before a marriage becomes a memory? Then 6 months ago, I found the file. Jennifer left her laptop open on the kitchen counter while showering. I was getting coffee when I saw my name on screen. Mike Stevens, termination plan. I sat down and read. 23 pages dated 3 months earlier, meaning she'd been planning this since January, 3 months after her father's passing. Section 1, professional transition. Mike Stevens currently holds Senior Business Development Manager position. While performance adequate, his skill set not aligned with company's future direction. Termination Q3 2024. Standard 6-month severance non-negotiable. Adequate, not aligned. Standard severance. The clinical precision was breathtaking. Section 2. Personal transition. Marital dissolution concurrent with professional termination. Creates clean break without prolonged emotional entanglement. File for divorce immediately following termination. Mike retains downtown condo. Jennifer retains all company stock, family estate, investments. No alimony necessary given Mike's employability and 12-year marriage. Falls below threshold for permanent support under state law. Section 3. Narrative management. Wait 9 to 12 months after assuming CEO role. Establish pattern of company-wide restructuring. Frame Mike's termination as strategic shift, not personal decision. Board support secured. Mark, Alex, Martin, all supportive. She'd calculated everything. Reduced 12 years to a property division spreadsheet. The final section was titled simply Notes. Mike is a good person. This isn't about his character, but he was Dad's choice, not mine. The acceptable husband who could be molded into a Morrison. I've spent 12 years trying to fit him into this life. He's spent 12 years trying to fit himself into it. He's not a bad man. He's just not my man, not anymore. Maybe he never was. I need to set us both free, even if he hates me. I photographed every page on my phone, then closed the laptop and went back to my coffee. When Jennifer came down 20 minutes later, I smiled at her. Good shower? Perfect, she said. Want to grab lunch? We went to her favorite place, talked about nothing important, held hands walking back. The perfect couple. And the entire time, I was thinking about Q3 2024, which meant I had 3 months before everything fell apart. That night, I started building my own file. Here's what nobody tells you about revenge. It requires patience. Revenge isn't hot emotion, it's cold methodology. It's a long game played with perfect information and absolute commitment. I started with the company. I'd worked at Morrison Tech 8 years. I was in business development, technically outside core operations, but I wasn't blind. I knew people, had system access, understood how things worked. And Richard had trusted me. In his final years, he'd started copying me on emails, asking my opinion, including me in planning sessions that had nothing to do with my job. You have good instincts, he once told me. You see things clearly. I realized he'd been grooming me, giving me access to things. System permissions that hadn't been revoked when he died. I started downloading everything, every document, every email thread, every financial report. I copied it all to an encrypted drive I kept in my gym bag, figuring Jennifer would never look there. What I found was fascinating. Morrison Tech was profitable, but deeply inefficient. Richard had built an empire through personality, but actual operations were a mess. Redundant processes, bloated management, decade-old vendor contracts, IT infrastructure held together with duct tape. Jennifer knew this. The restructuring narrative wasn't just cover. The company needed restructuring, but she was doing it wrong. Cutting people without understanding their roles, renegotiating contracts without understanding relationship capital, implementing systems without proper training. She was making catastrophic mistakes, and the board was letting her because they were old guard loyalists who didn't want to undermine the new CEO during her vulnerable transition period. I kept documenting, built spreadsheets, created analyses showing exactly how Jennifer's changes were costing money, alienating employees, creating bottlenecks. I did this at night after she was asleep, on weekends when she was at the office, during lunch breaks in my car. Then I started looking into Jennifer's personal life. I didn't want to believe it, but after finding the termination plan, I couldn't lie to myself anymore. So I hired a private investigator named Marcus Reed. He came recommended by a client who'd used him during a messy divorce. "What am I looking for?" Marcus asked at our first meeting. I showed him the relevant pages of Jennifer's plan. "She's thorough," he observed. "She's a CEO. Give me 2 weeks." He called 12 days later. "Your wife is having an affair, started in January, shortly after she became CEO. The words hit like physical blows. 8 months. The same month she started drafting the termination plan. Who? Ryan Cooper. He's COO at Summit Tech Solutions, one of your major clients. They met during contract negotiations last fall. Marcus showed me photos. Jennifer and Ryan having dinner at restaurants, entering hotels in Bellevue, kissing in the Morrison Tech parking garage at night. Based on frequency and behavior, I'd call it serious, Marcus said. They see each other 2 to 3 times weekly. My guess? She's planning to be divorced soon anyway, so the timeline doesn't concern her. Of course, professional termination followed immediately by personal termination. Clean break. She'd already moved on. I was just the last loose end. I need more, I told Marcus. Everything. His background, their communications if you can access them, financial entanglements. I need perfect information. Over 3 months, Marcus earned every dollar. Ryan Cooper was 42, divorced, ambitious. He'd built Summit Tech from small consulting firm to major regional player. His company did $8 million annually with Morrison Tech. Not enough to break either company, but enough to matter. He was also looking to expand in talks with investors. Guy like this hooking up with a CEO? Marcus said. That's not romance, that's strategy. He's leveraging the relationship to secure stronger position, maybe angling for exclusive contracts or preferential terms. I needed to know if Jennifer was in on it or being used. So I started attending networking events where Ryan appeared. I made sure he knew I was Jennifer's husband. Ryan was handsome in that generic executive way, good haircut, expensive watch, firm handshake, practiced smile. We talked for 20 minutes about business trends. The entire time I studied him, listened to what he didn't say. I understood. Marcus was right. This wasn't love. This was calculation. Ryan saw Jennifer as opportunity. I had 3 months before Q3 ended. I compiled everything into a master file with multiple copies. Encrypted drive, cloud storage, Jennifer didn't know about, physical copy in a safety deposit box, rented under my mother's name. The file contained detailed analysis of every operational decision Jennifer had made since becoming CEO, corporate governance violations, relationship conflicts of interest, and the entire termination plan. But I needed allies. Jennifer had secured Richard, Alex, and Martin's support, but there were 2 outside board directors. Dr. Helen Carter was a retired business professor who specialized in organizational behavior. Thomas Jackson was a former executive at another tech company. Both had reputations for asking uncomfortable questions. I contacted them separately using personal email. I'm concerned about some operational decisions at Morrison Tech. I've been documenting troubling patterns. I'd like to share this information with no strings attached. You can do what you think is appropriate. Dr. Carter responded first. Let's meet somewhere neutral. We met at a coffee shop near the university. I showed her summary of my research, not the affair or termination plan yet, just operational and financial issues. She read for 20 minutes. This is damning. I want the board to do its job. I want oversight. I want someone to ask hard questions. You realize this could destroy your marriage, she said. My marriage is already over, I replied quietly. Jennifer just hasn't told me yet. She studied me. I'll talk to Thomas. We'll review what you've provided. No promises. That's all I ask. Jennifer announced the board meeting for October 15th, 3 weeks away. I knew immediately what it was. Q3 ended September 30th. She'd wait 2 weeks to finalize reports, then schedule the meeting for mid-October, exactly as she'd planned. I need you to coordinate, she told me. Send invites, order catering. What's the agenda? I asked casually. Restructuring announcement, streamlining business development to focus on digital client acquisition. There it was, the exact language from her plan. I called Marcus. Timelines accelerated, board meeting October 15th. That's when it happens. You ready? Getting there. I need proof of the affair. Video if possible, something irrefutable. Before the board meeting. That's 2 weeks. Can you do it? It'll cost. I don't care what it costs. Marcus called October 12th, 3 days before the meeting. Got it. Hotel security footage shows your wife and Ryan entering the Riverside Hotel together at 7 p.m. last Tuesday, leaving together next morning at 6 a.m., plus audio of their conversation in the hotel bar beforehand. I listened to 30 seconds. Jennifer's laugh, Ryan saying he'd been thinking about her all day. I stopped playback. That's enough. That's perfect. October 15th arrived with rain. Jennifer was up early in her power suit. Big day, I said. It is. Thank you for coordinating everything. She set down her coffee, walked over, put her hand on my arm. Mike, whatever happens today, I respect you. I respect what you've contributed to this company, to this family. Past tense was deliberate. The board meeting started at 10. The boardroom on the 20th floor with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Seattle. I'd helped design this room 3 years ago. Now I was sitting in it, watching my wife prepare to fire me. Board members arrived. Mark looking uncomfortable, Alex distracted with his phone, Martin carrying his expensive portfolio. Dr. Carter arrived and caught my eye briefly, a small nod. Thomas Jackson arrived last, pulled out a leather notebook. Jennifer sat at the head of the table. Thank you all for being here. We have several items, but I want to start with operational restructuring. She pulled up her presentation. Morrison Tech has operated on the same business development model for 2 decades. The marketplace has evolved. Digital client acquisition is now the primary growth driver. We need to pivot. She clicked to the next slide, showing the organizational chart. We're eliminating 3 senior positions and 2 junior positions, redirecting resources toward digital marketing and CRM automation. My name wasn't on the slide yet, but everyone knew it was coming. Mike, Jennifer said, voice softening slightly, I want to thank you for your 8 years of service. You've been instrumental in maintaining client relationships. However, your position is among those being eliminated. Your services are no longer aligned with our strategic direction. She clicked to another slide showing severance packages. We're offering generous severance, 6 months' salary, continued health benefits. Then, perhaps because she couldn't help herself, she added, your poor love is also no longer required. Several board members looked confused. Martin's eyes widened. That hadn't been in the script. I'm sorry, Dr. Carter said. Could you clarify that last statement? Jennifer realized her mistake. I meant the position. The position is no longer required. But the damage was done. She'd revealed something. Let the personal bleed into professional. Clear your office by tomorrow, Jennifer continued, trying to regain control. And I started laughing. Not loud, not hysterical, just a quiet, genuine laugh. Everyone turned to look at me. I'm sorry, I said, still smiling. I don't mean to interrupt. Please continue. Jennifer's jaw tightened. Is something funny, Mike? No, I said. I stood up slowly. Everything's perfectly clear. Thank you for the opportunity. I turned to leave. Mike, Dr. Carter said, before you go, I have a few questions for Jennifer about this restructuring plan. If you wouldn't mind staying. I paused, turned back. Of course. Jennifer looked uncertain. Helen, I'm not sure what questions you could have. The restructuring plan has been reviewed. By whom? Thomas asked. By Martin and myself. Not by the full board. Helen said. It wasn't a question. The CEO has authority to make operational decisions without full board approval, Martin interjected. Within certain parameters, Thomas said. Major restructuring eliminating 20% of a division typically requires board consultation. This is consultation, Jennifer said. This is notification, Helen replied gently. You've already made the decision, prepared severance packages, set the timeline. She pulled out her tablet. I've been reviewing Morrison Tech's operational performance over the past 9 months. Revenue is down 6% year over year. Employee satisfaction scores have dropped significantly. We've lost 2 major client contracts. Meanwhile, you've approved several large expenditures without competitive bidding, including a $12 million contract with Summit Tech Solutions representing a 50% increase over their previous agreement. Summit Tech is a proven partner, Jennifer said. Time savings from avoiding the RFP process justified the increased cost. Did it? Thomas asked. Because according to analysis I received, other vendors could have provided similar services for 30% less. That's a $3.6 million difference. Jennifer looked at Martin. Where's this analysis coming from? Helen looked at me. Mike? This was it, the moment I'd been planning for 3 months. I reached into my bag, pulled out a folder. Not the full file, that would come later if needed, but enough. The operational analysis, financial data, documentation of poor decisions. I've been documenting operational concerns for several months, I said calmly. As someone who's worked closely with this company for 8 years, I felt it was my responsibility to ensure board members had complete information. I handed copies to Helen and Thomas. You went behind my back, Jennifer said. I provided information to board members who have fiduciary duty to oversee company operations, I corrected. That's not going behind your back. That's ensuring proper corporate governance. This is inappropriate, Martin said. Mike, as an employee facing termination, you have clear conflict of interest, which is why I'm not asking the board to take action on my behalf. I said, I accept the termination, I accept the severance, but the board has a right to know there are serious operational concerns beyond my individual employment. Helen was reading the documents. So was Thomas. This is quite detailed, Helen observed. I'm thorough, I replied. Jennifer stood up. This meeting is not about Mike's personal analysis. This meeting is about the CEO's judgment, Thomas interrupted. And frankly, Jennifer, based on what I'm seeing here, I have serious concerns about your decision-making over the past 9 months. I've been CEO for 9 months, Jennifer shot back. I'm entitled to make changes. You're entitled to make competent changes, Helen said. Changes that improve the company, not damage it. Changes made for strategic reasons, not personal ones. Silence. The words personal ones hung in the air. Jennifer looked at me, really looked at me, and I saw the moment she understood. I knew about Ryan, I knew about the affair, I knew about all of it. I think we should table discussion about my termination for now, I said quietly. The board clearly needs broader conversation about operational strategy. I looked at Jennifer. I'll wait outside. I walked out. The door closed with that soft, expensive click, and in the hallway I started laughing again. 'Cause tomorrow morning was still going to be fun. The board meeting lasted 4 hours. I sat in the employee lounge, drinking terrible coffee. At 2:15, my phone buzzed. Helen, we need to talk. Tomorrow, 9 a.m., same coffee shop. At 5 p.m., Jennifer finally emerged, looking exhausted. We need to talk, she said. Home, I'll meet you there. At home, Jennifer was already there with wine. How long have you known? She asked. About all of it. Since June. She closed her eyes. How? I found your file, transition plan. Very thorough. Then I hired a private investigator. He confirmed what I suspected. You and Ryan Cooper, 8 months. Hotels in Bellevue, Kirkland. I have video evidence, audio recordings, phone records, financial documentation showing you approved a $12 million contract for his company 2 months after your affair started. I have everything, Jennifer. Every lie, every day, every calculation, every moment, you decided I was disposable. She sat down heavily. This wasn't supposed to happen like this. How was it supposed to happen? You fire me, I accept my adequate severance, we have amicable divorce, you move on with Ryan? Was that the plan? You were never supposed to be permanent, she said quietly. You understand that, don't you? My father chose you, not me. He chose you because you were safe, moldable, the acceptable husband who wouldn't threaten the family legacy. I tried to love you the way you deserved, but you were always his choice, not mine. So Ryan is your choice? Ryan is someone who sees me as an equal, who wants to build something with me, not just support something I'm building. You could have talked to me, I said. You could have been honest. Instead, you made a strategic plan for my removal. You treated me like a problem to be solved, and you started an affair with a business partner. You used your position as CEO to benefit Ryan's company. You compromised Morrison Tech's interests for personal reasons. And now the board knows it. What do you want? She asked finally. I thought about that. I want you to know that I wasn't disposable. I want you to know the years we spent together mattered, even if they're over. I want you to know you made choices, and those choices have consequences. I'm taking the severance package. I'm clearing my office tomorrow. I'm moving out. We're getting divorced. But I'm also making sure the board knows everything, not the affair that's between you and Ryan and your conscience, but the operational issues, financial concerns, pattern of poor judgment. The board needs to know because Morrison Tech deserves better than a CEO making decisions based on emotions and relationships instead of strategy. They'll force me out, Jennifer said quietly. Maybe. Or maybe they'll give you a chance to fix it. That's up to you. I picked up my keys. I'll be staying at a hotel tonight. Daniel, she called. I turned. For what it's worth, you were always too good for this. For me. For this family. No, I said. I was exactly good enough. You just never saw it. The next morning, I met Helen. She slid a cup of coffee across the table. The board met again last night, she said. Emergency session without Jennifer. We've decided to run a full operations review. Outside consultants, full audit of every major choice Jennifer made since becoming CEO. It'll take at least 3 months, maybe longer. What happens to her now? I asked. She stays CEO, but under close board supervision. Every major move must be approved by me and Thomas. Basically, she's on probation. I nodded. That's fair. You could have pushed harder, Helen said. You could have asked for her resignation. I could have, I admitted, but that's not the goal. This isn't about revenge. It's about accountability. Jennifer made serious mistakes, but she's not incompetent. She's smart. She just let her personal life mess with her judgment. If she can separate the two, she might still be great at the job. Helen smiled. You are more forgiving than most. She pulled out a folder. The board wants to hire you again. 6-month contract. You'll work with the auditors, explain the company's history, and help fix the problems. I stared at her. You're serious? Completely. Thomas suggested it. If you could track all those failures, you probably know how to fix them. Jennifer's going to hate this. She doesn't get a say. If she wants to stay CEO, she follows our rules. Then Helen told me the pay. It was double what I'd earned before. I almost spilled my coffee. That's too much. It's market rate for a consultant with your experience. Take it or don't. I took it. The next 6 months were strange. I was back at Morrison Tech, but not really part of it. My office was 1 floor below the executives. I worked with the audit team, explaining context, pointing out patterns that numbers alone couldn't show. It was interesting and oddly healing. For the first time, I could see the company clearly. Without the shadow of being the CEO's husband, Jennifer and I moved carefully around each other. We crossed paths in hallways and meetings, polite but distant. We kept things professional and left our history untouched. The divorce went smoothly. We split our assets evenly. I kept the condo downtown. She bought out my share of the family house. We divided everything else like partners closing a business deal. By January, the divorce was final. In February, the auditors finished their report. I was in Helen's office when she handed me an early copy. It wasn't flattering, major inefficiencies, bad decisions, even governance violations. But the core of Jennifer's strategy held up. Her digital push was smart. Her sustainability goals were ahead of their time. The audit said she could stay under strict oversight if she learned from her mistakes. What happens now? I asked. The board will meet with her, Helen said. She can either accept our conditions, oversight, changes, proof she can lead, or she can resign. And if she accepts, then we monitor her closely. The board also wants to extend your contract another year. Same setup, but now you'd help apply the fixes. You'd act as an unofficial COO, reporting to us directly. I'll do it, I said. But I want real authority, decision-making power. I can't fix things without it. Helen smiled. You've got it. The board met with Jennifer on March 3rd, exactly 1 year after Richard's stroke. Everyone noticed the timing. I wasn't invited, but Helen called me afterward. She took it better than expected, Helen said. Read the report, listened, no excuses. What did she say? She admitted her mistakes and asked for the chance to make them right. And Ryan Cooper? Helen paused. She ended it 3 weeks ago, said she needed to focus on the company. That news hit me. Not with jealousy, not pride, just quiet recognition that she was changing. There's more, Helen said. Jennifer asked to speak with you privately, said it's important. I agreed. We met a few days later at a park by Green Lake, far from the company, far from everything else. Early March, cold air, pale sunlight, the city just starting to thaw. She was already there, by the water. She looked different, calmer, softer, dressed in jeans and a sweater, hair loose, more like the woman I'd married years ago. Thanks for coming, she said. Helen said you wanted to talk. I've been thinking about the past year, how everything went wrong. I realized something. You knew. Before that board meeting, You already knew I was planning to end it, and you let me walk in thinking I had control. Then you quietly dismantled my plan. She looked at me. You could have been cruel. You could have exposed the affair, destroyed my reputation, forced me out. But you didn't. You just made sure I understood what I'd lost. Her eyes were steady. I was wrong about so much, mostly about you. You weren't just some safe choice or the guy who married up. You were the best thing that ever happened to me, and I was too arrogant to see it. I don't expect forgiveness or a second chance. I just need you to know you were never disposable. You were always enough. I was the one who wasn't. I looked at her, the woman I'd spent 12 years with. Thank you for saying that. Do you forgive me? I don't know, I said honestly. Ask me next year. She gave a small, sad smile. Fair. We stood in silence, watching ducks glide across the lake. I'm going to be good at this, she said quietly. At leading Morrison Tech. I'll prove it, to the board, to you, to everyone. I know you will, I said. You've always done things perfectly once you finally decide to do the right thing. I signed a 1-year contract extension at the end of March. The work was tough, but rewarding. I was finally using my real skills, operations, process improvement, and strategy, instead of just entertaining clients. I worked with Jennifer now and then. Things stayed professional. By summer, Morrison Tech was doing better. Revenue steadied, employee morale climbed, and we reworked a few deals, including one with Summit Tech that Ryan Cooper accepted graciously. By September, I'd made up my mind. I told the board I wouldn't renew when my contract ended in March. I'd done what I came back to do. On my second to last day, Helen took me to lunch. We'll miss you, she said. The board wants you to stay. Chief Operating Officer, full executive package. I appreciate it, but no. Can I ask why? Because this was never meant to be permanent. I came back to finish something, not to stay. My future isn't here. I told her about Alex's photography business and the plan we'd been building. I'd finally realized I didn't need to serve a legacy or meet anyone's expectations. I could just be Mike Stevens, consultant, partner, helping creative people turn ideas into real businesses. My last day was March 2nd. The company held a small farewell party. Jennifer gave a short speech. Mike Stevens has been part of Morrison for 14 years, a colleague, a friend, and sometimes a pain in my neck when I needed someone to tell me I was wrong. People laughed. He's done more for this company than most people know, and more for me than I deserved. I'll miss him, but I can't wait to see what he builds next. If there's one thing about Mike, it's that he's great at building things, even when others try to tear them down. She looked straight at me when she said that. I got the message. After most people left, Jennifer found me. Can we talk? We went to the empty boardroom. She handed me an envelope, a 6-figure check. What's this? Your share of the family house. When we divorced, I bought you out at market value, but it's gone up a lot. You deserve the difference. You didn't have to. Yes, I did. You were right. I treated you like you didn't matter. This is me making it right. I folded the check and put it in my pocket. Thank you. She smiled softly. No, thank you for not destroying me when you could have, for helping me grow, for being you even when I couldn't see your worth. She hugged me. Be happy, Mike. You too. She left. I stayed a few more minutes watching the Seattle skyline, the city where I'd built, lost, and rebuilt my life. Then I turned off the lights and walked away. 2 years later, I'm sitting in a Capitol Hill coffee shop on a Saturday morning reading the Seattle Times. The headline makes me smile. Morrison Tech reports record profits under CEO Jennifer Morrison. The article praises her leadership, how she pushed Morrison Tech into sustainable tech and new markets. It mentions she's engaged to an architect named David Park. No sign of Ryan Cooper. That story's done. Good for her. My phone buzzes. Alex texts. Finished editing the Iceland shoot. Want to swing by the studio? Investor meeting next week. Need you to make me sound like an adult. I grin. Morrison Creative Group is doing great. Alex's business now includes video, commercial shoots, even documentaries. I handle the operations and finances so Alex can focus on the art. We're growing, stable, building something real. The door opens. Someone sits across from me. Sorry I'm late, she says. Traffic was awful. Her name's Rachel. She's a public defender. We met 6 months ago at a dinner party. She's smart, funny, and has no clue who the Morrisons are, which I love. How was court? I ask. Long, frustrating, but I won. Of course you did. She takes a sip of my coffee. What are you reading? I show her the article. That's your ex-wife? Yeah. She sounds impressive. She is. She studies me. Do you regret it, the divorce? I think about 12 years of marriage, the fallout, the revenge, the rebuild. It had been messy, painful, but also freeing. Not because I hurt her, but because I finally found myself. No, I say, that had to happen. We mattered once, but not anymore. Now I'm here with you, starting something new. That's enough. She smiles, leans in, and kisses me. Good answer. We sit there, drinking coffee, talking about nothing, watching the city hum around us. Later, I'll go to Alex's studio. Later, I'll handle next quarter's numbers. Later, I'll call my mom in Arizona, tell her about Rachel, about work, about life, but right now I'm just here, Saturday morning, coffee in hand with someone who makes me happy. Right now, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Tomorrow? Tomorrow's mine to create.